Namah Shreyati-Rajaya Vivekananda-Suraye Satchit-Sukha-Swarupaya Swamine Tapaharine Swamine Tapaharine. Pranams. We will continue our discussion. We were looking at the Samanya Vishesh Siddhanta, and today we will go a little bit more deeper into it and then go to the remaining shlokas. So in the last class we discussed that the three definitions of Samanya and Vishesha could be correlated with Dravya Samanya, Guna Samanya and Karma Samanya. This is one viewpoint, and I had also clarified that there is difference in opinion about this, that everybody does not accept that there is so we will look into those alternate views today. So we found there are three definitions, and to just continue from where we left yesterday, the day before yesterday, there was an act of God and I couldn't join. There was sudden disruption of internet and electricity. So Sarvada Sarvabhavanam is generally considered to be Dravya Samanyam. Samanyam Egatvagaram is considered as Guna Samanyam, and Tulyarthada hi Samanyam as Karma Samanyam. Similarly, Hrasa Hetur Visheshascha, that is said to be Dravya Samanyam. Samanyam Egatvagaram Visheshastu Viparya, that is Dravya Guna Vishesha, and Tulyarthada hi Samanyam, the opposite. Visheshastu Prathaktvagat is the Guna Samanya, and Visheshastu Viparya is the Karma Vishesha. So in this way, Dravya Guna Karma is one way in which it is described, but many scholars opine that there is no such division into Dravya Guna and Karma. The general view is that Ayurveda accepts only Dravya Samanya, and I will come to that why. Why Guna Samanya, Karma Samanya we don't accept in Ayurveda. So that is a big discussion, but we will summarize this whole concept. Another way in which these three definitions of Samanya are classified is Atyanta Samanya, Madhyama Samanya and Ekadesha Samanya. So the first one, Sarvada Sarvabhavanam, is considered to be, Atyanta Samanya. Atyanta Samanya means absolute, similarity between two things. So Samanya can be in 3 degrees. Absolute Samanya is called Atyanta Samanya. Madhyama Samanya, that is what, there you need Samanyam Ekatvakaram. You need that Ekatva Buddhi. Through your Buddhi you see the Samanya. Like when you see blood and blood together, we can say it is Atyanta Samanya. Both are absolutely similar to each other. But when you see, for example, meat and protein powder, which is coming from plant sources, we cannot say that they are Atyanta Samanya. They are Ekadesha Samanya. Because we know that it will also increase Mamsa because of the common constituents. We are attributing Samanya. So, whenever Samanyam, to establish Samanya or Vishesha, we need to use our intelligence. It is not obvious, then we call that as Madhyama Samanya. When the Samanyatum is so evident, there is absolute likeness of the two substances, then we call that as Atyanta Samanya. And the third type is Ekadesha Samanyam, where you cannot actually, you can infer the Samanyatam only by the result. When you see the substance, there is no Samanya. Like I'm sitting for a long time and kapha increases. Sitting by itself is not similar to kapha, but its action leads to increase of kapha. So such is called as Ekadesha Samanya. So Dravya Samanyam, Guna Samanyam, Karma Samanyam, and also Atyanta Samanyam, then Madhyama Samanyam, and then Ekadesha Samanya. This is another way of classifying Samanya. Is that clear? Any questions? Okay. Then there is generally Samanya and Vishesha are also divided into Ubhaya Vritti and Eka Vritti. Ubhaya Vritti Samanya means that similar qualities are seen in both. You can see identity. So this all are different ways of analyzing the concept of Samanya and Vishesha. You can see the qualities and properties when you can see it in both, like Mamsa and Mamsa. Then it is called as Ubhaya Vritti Samanya. Whereas exercise and increase of muscle, this is Eka Vritti Samanya. Because that increase of muscle happens only in muscle. My muscle cannot increase exercise, or exercise is an action. So it is Eka Vritti Samanya. You do more exercise, the muscle will increase. So it is one-sided. Always the Samanya is seen only in respect to the one of the two things. So these are all different ways in which we can analyze Samanya. To summarize again, the three definitions of Samanya and Vishesha may be interpreted in terms of Dravya, Guna and Karma, Atyanta, Madhyama and Ekadesha, and then generally also Ubhaya Vritti and Eka Vritti Samanya. So why that Ubhaya Vritti, Eka Vritti is that this shows that majority of the time Ubhaya Vritti Samanya is very difficult to come by. Most of the time we are dealing with things which have Eka Vritti Samanya. When you see, you cannot see obviously the similarity, but in action the net result will be an increase. So when you are taking a vitamin B12 capsule, we have no imagination that it will increase B12 in your body. You are not able to imagine the similarity, but it will, because of Ekadesha Samanya. I mean, when you take foods that are rich in vitamin B12, I mean, when you are supplementing it itself, then it is complete Samanya. So now we have to come to this thing in Ayurveda. I told you in the beginning itself that this theory is a little bit, controversial. Ayurveda does not accept Karma Samanya. Ultimately, Ayurveda does not accept Guna Samanya also. So we will discuss why. Because in Ayurveda we say that everything happens through the agency of Dravya only. So you cannot take guna and give it to somebody. You have to give it through Dravya only. Right? So Guna Samanya is not accepted because I cannot take the Gurutva of milk and give it directly to the patient. I have to give milk. So there is ultimately only Dravya. It is through Dravya only we are acting. Is that clear? So Guna Samanya is also included in Ayurveda under Dravya Samanyam itself. Now there is also a reason why we don't accept Karma Samanyam. We do say Karmapi Yadyasya Dhator Vruddhigaram Tattad Asevyam. Dhator Vruddhigaram karma is there. But what we are saying is that karma is increasing or decreasing a dhatu not by samanyam. Suppose somebody is sitting for a long time. How is that increasing kapha? Because the act of sitting is obstructing the factors that will actually increase kapha. Because if I am running, if I am standing, if I am moving, all those actions will reduce kapha. So by becoming a nirodhaga of factors that will reduce kapha, sitting is increasing kapha. It is not directly increasing kapha. It is becoming a pradibandhaga. So karma also causes increase of substances, but not through samanya. That is the very important concept. So Ayurveda does not accept karma samanya. So kapachyagarana sharira parispandanati nirodhagatvena vruddhikara na sakshat kapha vruddhikara. But if you take jala, water, if you drink, it will increase kapha directly. Now there are also always there are pradibandhaga factors, like in old age, even if you take a lot of samana guna dravyas, your kapha will not increase. Because in old age there is extreme increase of vata. No, guna cannot stay independent of dravya according to Ayurveda. The guna is ashrita in the dravya. That is why we accept only dravya samanya. The guna may be the reason for dravya samanya, but dravya guna samanyam has no practical utility in Ayurveda. You will still need to find a dravya through which you can give that guna to the body. Suppose I have to increase madhura, snigdha, shita, and kathina gunas in the body. I have to use dravyas which possess these gunas. So only through dravya, the samanya vruddhikaratam will happen. So this is how Ayurveda looks at it. We will come a little later to the definition of dravya and all that. So we come to this sarvam dravya samanyameva gunasya dravya ashrayatvat. And karma samanyam is working through nirodhana of pradibandhaga bhavaha. It is not directly increasing. It is removing the obstructing factors and thereby allowing an increase. Is this concept clear? So in Ayurveda we accept only dravya samanyam. Guna samanyam and karma samanyam are not accepted. These are all intellectual, debates. Ultimately, even if you think dravya guna karma, it may be helpful clinically. So in my understanding and opinion, what is important to know is this principle. Tasmad bheshajam samyag avacharyamaanam yugapad unadi riktanam dhatunam samyakaram bhavati. Samyagavacharyamanam bheshajam yugapat. At the same time, unadiriktanam dhadunam samyakaram bhavati. I must use substances. I must have a plan that all the dravyas, gunas, and karmas that I am getting exposed to should be unadiriktanam dhadunam samyagaram. It should cause samatva of increased and decreased dhatus. So I have to dynamically keep deciding what dravya, what guna, what karma I should be taking. Maybe in the future we can develop a wearable. You put that watch on your wrist and then it will keep telling you what to eat, what not to eat, when to run, when to sit, when to sleep, when to wake up. That would be magical. But I don't know if a wearable can get so much intelligence to understand what is going on inside the body. What Ayurveda says is that develop that intelligence yourself so that you know automatically what to do. In what I have understood from all my reading and careful discussion and debates with learned people is that this kind of wearable, of course, is modern technology. I don't deny it also. So many things are happening. Maybe they will discover a wearable which will tell, oh, your kapha is increased, your vata is decreased, so you do this, you drink some milk, you drink some that. Maybe. But this is definitely possible for you to develop this intelligence if you practice yoga. Yoga, not just yogasanas. Today's international yoga is not enough. That is just gymnastics. We have to follow the yoga darshana. Less gymnastics, more, mental exercise and development. Today, yoga has been reduced to gymnastics. So, if you develop those finer sensibilities, then our body itself gives us the signals of what to eat, what not to eat, when to be active, when to rest. And if you start following this intelligently, Dhatu Samyam will become natural. And when you have Dhatu Samyam, you have a long life. And when you have a long life, let's use that to get to the higher levels of consciousness and our ultimate, goal of human life. This is what Ayurveda is telling us. So, is it? I hope the purpose and importance of Samanya Vishesh Siddhanta is very clear. So, with that, I want to go to the next verse. Once again, I would like to ask: is there any doubt? Is the purpose of Samanya Vishesh Siddhanta clear? Based on this, there is a definition of Ayurveda also. Ayushyani, Anayushyani cha Dravya Guna Karmani Vedayati Ityatopi Ayurveda. Ayurveda is that which gives us the knowledge of Ayushya and Anayushya Dravya Guna Karmani. Why is our, like when we are manufactured, we are given an unconditional lifespan of 100 years with a disclaimer: provided you lead your life properly, provided you don't violate the laws of nature. Okay. Ayurveda rejects karma samanya because Ayurveda accepts that karma can increase or decrease dhatus. But Ayurveda says that it is not happening through samanya. There is no samanya. When I sit, why is kapha increasing? Because activity is decreasing kapha, and by sitting, I am creating the conditions for kapha to increase. Samanya means it should be by something very similar. If I drink a lot of water or milk or ice cream and kapha increases, then it is karma samanya. Is it not? So drinking is also an act, but there is a dravya that is going inside. So action by itself is not samanya or vishesha to anything. So that is why the text is giving the argument pratibandhagatvad. Pratibandhaka bhavanam nirodhagatvat. Sorry. Karmas create samanya or vishesha by nirodhana of pratibandhaka bhavas, not by samanya. So that's a theoretical explanation. On a gross level, we can say, okay, this is karma samanyam because the result is similar. But technically speaking, it is not because of similarity. Is that clear? Ayurveda, Jyotish Shastra is one of the Vedangas. And Vedas tell that it is Shatayurvai Purusha, Jiveva Sharada Shatam. So that does not mean that humans can live only 100 years. That is the what is called what you call as the average life expectancy. Today, when you say life expectancy is 79 years, it doesn't mean that everybody will live to 79 or everybody should die at 79. A lot of people live also plus some other years. My only understanding is that Jyotish Shastra is more about, actually, it is the science of free will. It is telling you what you can do to achieve your maximum. So it is telling 120 years probably because it tells that, because we all think that Jyotisham is like a, determinism, fatalistic. No. Jyotisham is telling that if you follow the principles of life properly, the Purushakara, you can even surpass the normal lifespan. In my opinion, real Jyotisham is all about how to use Purushakara to move forward. It is not telling you that Daivam, everything is fixed. It is telling you that you can change your destiny. So why not 120 years? Everybody is telling 100. Jyotisham is telling no. If you really follow the rule of life, you can even get a bonus of 20 years. So Jyotisham is telling us to get that extra 20 years bonus. Whereas all other Shastra, because Jyotish is the Chakshu of the Veda. It is the eye of the Veda. Jyotish is telling us the path in front of us, and it is prompting us to get the better out of life, not fatalistic, telling today we are all using Jyotisham to just know our future and let the Jyotisham decide our fates. Real Jyotisham wants us to take the fate of our life in our own hands. So I think that is why Jyotisham is telling 120 years. If you look at the planetary calculations of all planets together, it will come to 120 years. That is why it is mentioned like that. Okay, Sumitra Veeraraghavan, you are.
I didn't catch that. Could you try again?
Oh, that's my Siri. Please ignore it.
So,
Please?
sir,
Please
you were
what?
saying like,
Siri, please keep quiet. I didn't ask you. This is the problem with technology,
can we go ahead with the
Yes.
query? So the Guna Samanya and the Karma Samanya that you said that Ayurveda is not accepting. So
Yes.
I understand that Samanatvam is what they typically talk about by Samanya, isn't it?
Yeah. That is why Ayurveda
So,
wants. Well, they see the Guna Samanya Ayurveda is rejecting, because even though there is Samanyatvam, in Prayoga you cannot take Guna and give it to anybody. You have to use it through Dravya only. So they are asking, ultimately it means Dravya Samanyam only. Because I cannot separate the Gunas from the Dravya and administer it to the patient. I have to give a Dravya which has those Gunas.
okay.
Everywhere it is
What
Dravya Samanya.
if the goal can be achieved by either of the Samanyas, then why is that Samanatvam has been given so much importance? Why is that they are considered about this to be rejecting to the extent that they reject the other two Samanyas?
No. So that is why Ayurveda is very practical and pragmatic. It is It is bringing you to the concrete reality that ultimately all vyavahara in medicine is happening with dravyas.
Yeah.
You have to give the medicine. See, you cannot bring about a change of samanya or vishesha by talking about it until the patient takes the medicine. I cannot write medicine and read it and say my disease will go away. The medicine has to, as a dravya, it has to actually go inside. Then only the change will happen. So that importance to dravya. Dravyameva rasadhinam shreshtam tehi tadashraya. Dravyameva rasadhinam shreshtam. Karma we are not accepting for the reason I mentioned. Karma samanya in effect you can see, but it is ekavritti samanyam. If at all you want to accept it, it is ekavritti samanyam. Because only in the result, after the result comes, you can say that this is similar to this.
Okay. Thank you.
Is that clear?
Yes, sir. It's clear.
Okay. So now we come to a very, very important concept in Ayurveda, which we call as patient-centric approach. Ayurveda is for the person. Yes. See, in Ayurveda there is Sadravya Chikitsa and Adravya Chikitsa also. Here now we are talking about Sadravya Chikitsa. So that is Yukti Vyapashraya Chikitsa. In Sattva Vajaya there is only the mind. And mind according to Ayurveda is a Dravya also. We'll come to that. Khadinyatma Manakalo Dishascha Dravya Sangraha. Even Atma is a Dravya in Ayurveda. Okay. But Pancha Dravyam Panchamaha Bhutatmagam. So if you look at Vaisheshika and Darshana viewpoint, even Manas and Atma are Dravya only, ultimate analysis. So that question doesn't arise. But Ayurveda restricts the definition of Dravya to Panchabhutat. Ihahit Dravyam Panchamaha Bhutatmagam. In Ayurveda, Dravya means Panchamahabhutatmaka substances. So when we are treating with mind and other things, we generally call it as Adravya Chikitsa. Again, so this is all samjnas of Shastra. We don't need to break our heads of it. Ayurveda has made its own definitions of terms. It's called as Swatantra Samjna. So it is sometimes different from what you see in Vaisheshika or other Shastras. The purpose is that, Vaisheshika and all, there are no vyavaharas or interventions. It is more intellectual, it is more conceptual. You understand it and then you get mukti. Whereas here you have to do a vyavahara. So Ayurveda wants to give us the tools. What is it with which we can treat? So it is defining terminologies differently. Sushruta also says, Bhudebhyo hi param yasmat nasti chinta chikitsite. In chikitsa, we don't have to think beyond the Panchamahabhutas. So these kind of concepts are very specific to Ayurveda. So I hope that is clear, Abhijit Sinhaji.
Yes, sir, it is clear.
Yeah. No, Ayurveda does not say that all dravyas are made of Panchamahabhutas. Ayurveda says is what we mean by dravya here in Ayurveda is Panchamahabhutas. Dravyas are beyond Panchamahabhutas also. Khadinyatma Manakalo Dishascha Dravya Sangraha. Khadinyatma Manakalo Dishascha Dravya Sangraha. The five Mahabhutas, Atma, Manaha, Kalaha and Dik, these are all the Navadravyas. They are not Panchabhaudika. But Manas is considered to be Panchabhaudika because it can be influenced by the Panchamahabhutas, by Ahara. So this kind of idea is also coming from Upanishads. Annamayam hi saumya manaha. In the Upanishad, there is this experiment of the Rishi telling his students to fast and come after learning a lesson. And when they come after fasting for a few days, they are not able to remember anything that they learned. And then the guru tells them to eat good food and come back, and then they are able to remember. And then he says, this is the proof that Annamayam hi Saumya Manaha. The mind is made from the food that you eat. So the mind is, even though the mind is, Ayurveda says that the urjayati manaha, aharam manam urjayati. So although the mind in its root is beyond the scope of Panchamahabhutas, in its expression, the mind is requires the energy from Panchamahabhutas. So when you are dead, the mind is there. Atindriyastair atisukshma rupair manojavam deham upedi dehad. So when we are dead, the mind remains. At that time, it is not Panchabhaudika. But when associated with the Panchabhaudika Shariram, the mind needs the energy of the Panchamahabhutas to express. For all the Manovyaparas, it is needed. So Ayurveda accepts the mind also as in Ayurveda, we have not clearly correlated the dik with any particular Panchamahabhutas. But especially the Uttara dik is considered very auspicious for medicine. So the plants growing in the northern direction, the roots pointing in the northern direction, the plants growing in the Himalayan regions, they are all considered to be very beneficial. The dik is explained like, Prag Dakshina Shiraha Pada Vakurvano Gurun Prati. How should you lie down to sleep? Dik is very important. When you are making a building, you are making your hospital, you are making your Aushadha Shala, then where it should face, there dik is given importance. Prag Dakshina Shiraha. You should keep your head when you are sleeping either in the eastern direction or in the southern direction, not in the western or northern direction. This is mentioned in Ayurveda. And never keep your feet facing your gurus. If you have a picture of your guru in your house, don't lie down in such a way that your leg is pointing to your guru. So that attitude should be there of complete surrender. So all these principles are mentioned. One of the reason why dik is not so elaborately discussed is there is something called as Vidya Kalpana. There are the Tantra Gunas in which Tantra Yuktis are there, Achilya, then Vyakhya, Arthashraya, Kalpana, all these together around 96 Tantra Gunas are there. So there is something called as Vidya Kalpana. See, what you have to learn from other Shastras are not elaborated in detail here. You have to get that by Vidya Kalpana, by studying the respective Vidyas. So if you look at astrology, hardly anything is described in Ayurveda. So much so that modern scholars say that Ayurveda and astrology have no connection. If anybody reads Caraka-Saṁhitā or Sushruta Samhita or Ashtanga Hridaya, only one or two times they have just passingly mentioned. Atharva Vihita Shanti Pratigula Graharchanam. You have to do Pratigula Graharchanam. Somewhere it is mentioned. Hemali Thakur is asking a very, very Nachiketas type of question. You have to become a Nachiketas to get an answer for it. Because things beyond death are not easy to understand. You need that much interest and that much dedication to find it. What is there in the text alone is mentioned here. What Ayurveda says is after death, it is not the Atman that moves from one Sharira to the other. Because Atman is all pervading. Where can it move? Everything is in the Atman only. So Ayurveda doesn't believe in ghosts roaming around in white clothes. It is not possible. It's possible only in films. Because when your physical body is gone, you exist only as a thought, as a seed thought. The vasanas are, there is to be a receptacle for the vasanas. And mind is beyond time and space. Mind is beyond dik and kala. So it is, you are mentally, in the mental world, you are being displaced from one body to the other. When you get connected to another, the mind gets connected. So it is the mind that moves. Manojavam deham upeti dehat. Ayurveda never says that Atma is moving from one Sharira to the other. Atma cannot move. Atma is all pervading. Yes, some Vaidyas are doing that treatment. So that's what I'm saying. It was a Vidya Kalpana. Ayurvedic text did not write about astrology. They would study astrology separately. Similarly, Vastu Shastra is not, it's not given in elaborate detail in Ayurvedic text because they are expected to study Vastu Shastra. So that is why Sushruta says, Ekam Shastram Adhiyano na Vidyat Shastra Nischayam. Tasmat Bahushruta Shastro Vijayaniyat Chikitsaka. Karana Sharira doesn't move. It's a Sukshma Sharira that is shifting from one body to the other. Shuddhe Shukrartave Sattva Swakarma Klesha Chodida. Sattva Garbha Sampadhyade Yukti Vashad Agni Rivarano. Just like Agni comes when you are churning the Arani sticks, like suddenly a spark comes. In a similar way, when there is Shukra Shonita Samyoga, Sattvaha Garbha Sampadhyate. The mind comes into the, because the Shukra and Shonita, when they combine together, they create a receptacle. It's like the hardware. When the hardware is ready, you put the software inside, then the computer comes to life. So the mind is like the software, the body is like the hardware. Atman, Bhudais Chadurbis Sahitais Susukshmaihi Manojavam Deha Upeti Dehat. That is what Ayurveda says. Bhudais Chaturbihi. Only 4 bhutas. Because Akasha again is Sarva Vyapi. Akasha cannot move. I don't know. I'm not so much in favor of astrology today because it has become future prediction. The first and foremost thing is that astrology is more difficult to study and practice than Ayurveda. From my exploration and understanding, astrology requires a lot of tapas to be able to become right. But today, it has become a commercial thing, and most commercial amongst all Indian knowledge system traditions. I mean, I don't want to be overtly critical, but this is my observation that if you are not doing astrology with that spirit of tapas, you become a witness to the whole universe. You need to create that moment of intuition, because if you calculate astrology, it is all planets that this cancelling each other. You cannot know what is going to happen in a patient's life. I have tried my little best to understand. Okay, Saturn is in this position. Oh, great. You are a. So I don't mean to condemn anybody. I'm just talking about the general trend. There will still be good astrologers. But general trend, I'm saying it is Kali Yuga. So a lot of commercialization has happened. And people are not engaging it with that much tapas. So a good tapasvi, will be able to become a good astrologer. More tapas is needed for astrology than for Ayurveda. That's what I've understood. Ayurveda is, if you give medicine, whether I give Haridagi or you give Haridagi, the person will undergo some virechana or there will be purgation. It doesn't matter. But astrology is not like that. The astrologer has to have that higher spiritual development and growth. So that is the challenge. So medical astrology today, I think until we have really a very big, people being taught astrology right from a young age, undergoing spiritual practices and developing that kind of chitta shuddhi, we won't be able to. It is not going to be proven by science. When there are good astrologers, astrology will prove itself through the practitioners. They will be the proof. I cannot do an experiment saying, this planet, because the interpretation and understanding is very subtle. Saturn is in this house. It is negative. Today's computer horoscope you must have seen. It will give you, make a list of everything. It will say because Saturn is in this house, you will lose your house. Then in another thing it will say because Jupiter in this house, you will get a house. Now what is going to happen? What will actually happen in my life? Because when you look at the positions of planets, they are all mutually contradictory. So there will be a yuddha. You have to look at the bala balam. You have to very subtly see, and that is a profound skill. Astrology is already cursed with the curse that it will not be 100% accurate. Subramanya was cursed. Anyway, so we are deviating. So Ayurveda has mentioned a little bit of astrology here and there and said that Caraka-Saṁhitā is a 13th century book which clearly tells that the physician should be a Daivatnya also. A Daivatnya means somebody who knows the karma of that patient, which means some astrology should be there. So this is the Karma Vipaka is texts have also been written. One famous textbook dealing with Karma Vipaka or astrological aspects of disease is called Veera Simhavalokam. Veera Simhavalokam. That is a book which is exclusively dealing with Karma Vipaka. So such attempts were also done. So Ayurveda also says, when does a disease become very easily curable? Graheshu anuguneshu. When the planets are in favorable position, then the disease is easy to cure. So when the grahas are pratikula, the disease may be. So even though only little is mentioned, in my opinion, the real essence of astrology and how it should be used is already described. So those who want to do this, Ayurveda is open to it. But we must get a good Daivatnya. An astrologer was called in Ayurveda as Daivatnya, not as Jyotishi. So Daivatnya means Purva Janma Kritam Karma Daivam Paurusham Aihikam. Bali Purushakaro hi Daivam Apyati Vartate. If you do strong human effort, then you can overcome Daivam. So a Daivatnya, Ayurveda Vaidya, bringing in astrology also becomes a Daivatnya. So when you are a Daivatnya, you can give the patient the possibility of Purushakara. What effort can be taken to overcome Daiva? That is the only interest of Ayurveda. A Vaidya is here to give you Udgati, not to condemn you saying that this is your fate and so you suffer. No. Whatever has happened, what is the scope of human action? And what is the scope of human action to change the course of our life? Deva Vyapashraya Chikitsa, as we mentioned Deva Vyapashraya Chikitsa is when you are using any source from outside to activate your own inner healing powers. When you say Deva Vyapashraya Chikitsa, it also means nullifying your previous karma. So nullifying your previous karma means, one of the best ways to do Deva Vyapashraya Chikitsa is Dana karma. Danam. And this Ayurveda says is also very, very important. Satpatre Danam. You cannot just start distributing all your things because you want to get something. That is not Danam. Danam is Satpatre Danam. When you help somebody who is in need, then you create good karma. This is the best Deva Vyapashraya Chikitsa according to me. In olden days, they used to say Godhanam, because this is culturally and socially very different. In those days, things were different. So Brahmins who were completely devoted to Vedic life and they were not earning any money, the dana system was there to make sure that they were, supported. Today things have changed, but what I've understood is the best way to nullify your past karma is by doing good deeds. That's much, much more powerful than doing many other rituals, which have become extremely commercialized today. But in many of these rituals, there is a sankalpa also, because when you do these rituals, what it is a deep psychology that you are creating a strong sankalpa, which is necessary for me to change my resolve. The change in my being has to happen at a mental level. That is what Deva Vipassana Chikitsa is trying to do. It is trying to change my mind very deeply at a very subconscious level. So I have been living a life like this. Now, after doing this ritual, I am getting purified. Today, we are thinking that you see many great Devatnyas whom I had met, and they were saying that if you really want the result. So I have few experiences where, yes, Veerasimhavalokana is published. You can get it from Chaukamba. Yes, that is why I said dana should means patra, sat patra. When you help somebody in need, like basic needs, that is why annadanam, godanam, all these things. If you help a person to make a livelihood by giving him a work, that is more valuable than giving him money and making him dependent on you for that money. Or so if you help a person to do some hard work and make money, he gets a living. Now he's growing. Anything that will block the spiritual growth of another person is papam. That is not dhanam. So you have to help the other person also grow spiritually. Otherwise, it is against the law of nature. So everybody, so the dhanam should be in such a way. Now, annadhanam is a very good dhanam because that helps life to sustain. We had a culture where we never sold food at one point of time. Everybody would. When I go outside first time I went for an international conference as an invited speaker, I was asked to pay for my food. I got a shock because in India conferences are festivals. We get lot of free food, lot of rich food. Everybody celebrates. One of the main hallmarks of our Indian conferences is the food, because it's in our culture to give free food to everybody. There they ask money for everything. So they will say in the conference only one meal is there, rest of the meal you have to. And they invite for a gala dinner sometimes, which is a paid dinner. You are being called all the way and you go there as a guest. Still, they don't have the idea that food is something which we should give out of joy, out of a feeling of sharing. That is not there. That's there in our culture. So when we eat food, when we eat food or when we cook food, we always cook a little extra for somebody, for animals, for guests. So food was so freely distributed. Today, it is Zomato and Swiggy and all that. You get food more easily today. In olden days, also you used to get food. Wherever you go, people would give food. That culture is almost gone. So Daiva Vyapashraya, many things are mentioned, Bhuda, Bali, Homa, all those things. But if you go deeply into the ultimate thing is to expand your mind, to dissolve your Daivam, the past karma, by doing good karmas. And when that happens, when you see everything in life is blessings and curses. If you can, because a blessing is a sankalpa. So if 100 people bless me with feeling, that is why we always say get blessings of your parents. That sankalpa will help you. It's a protection. There is a thought in it. Okay, so there is since we are discussing a lot, there is a request that we continue with our class, the whole text itself. So let's do that. Sattvamatma shariram cha trayametat tridandavat logastishtadi samyoga tatra sarvam pratisthita. Yes, while it is true that we must read the text, sometimes in the traditional way of learning, it's also contextual. The discussions and the interactions help us to expand our mind in ways. The lesson is not planned in a structured way like today's classes, where you say, I have to sit for complete so many verses in a day. That's not the traditional way of learning. When there is a discussion, the whole topics evolve and grow organically. It may not go according to a lesson plan, but we have to balance it. We will also look at the content. So now, see, all these concepts come in Ayurveda because of the way we look at the human being. Sattvamatma shariram cha trayametat tridandavat. The human being is a three-legged stool. Tridandavat. Sattvamatma shariram cha, all the three together. Logas tishtadi samyoga tatra sarvam pratishthitam. This whole world is a coming together of Sattvamatma and Shariram. Atman is there. It is the foundation of all existence. Consciousness is the foundation. And we discovered that it is the same consciousness. The consciousness in me is the same consciousness in the other person. And the more and more I become deeper, the more I can feel the other person, which is called empathy or karuna or bhutadaya. Bhutadaya comes not as a value. It comes because of this fundamental experience. Why should I love the other? Because there is no difference. At the level of consciousness, we are one. There is no other culture which has told why we should love each other. It's not because it's good. It's not because it's a morality. It's not good. It's not because it's a value. It's because that is the truth. Sattvamatma shariram cha. So this is so beautifully explained by Hanuman. Yes, sattva means mind. Yes, exactly. I'm coming to that. Sattvamatma shariram cha. So the body, mind, and self. I don't like the word spirit. Some people say body, mind, and spirit. When you say spirit, first thing you think of is alcohol. And otherwise, you are thinking of something which is dissolving and going up. You are looking at outside. So you may think of a ghost, and then you think of some white clothes and frightening face, or you think of alcohol, which also makes you spiritual. But I prefer the word self, because when you say self, you look inside. Isn't it? That is where you should look for your Atman. तत्त्वम् आध्यात्मिकं दृष्ट्वा तत्त्वं दृष्ट्वा तु बाह्यदा तत्त्वीभूतस्तदा रामः तत्त्वाद् अप्रच्युतो भवेत्. So it is by seeing the Atman inside that we are able to behold it everywhere. Paranchikani vyatranat swayambhu tasmat parang pashyati nandaratman. Kaschid dhira pratyag atmanam ekshad avritta chakshu amritatvam icchan. So this is what the Upanishads say. So this Paranchikani vyatranat swayambhu. The indriyas are forcing us to look outside. So don't look for the self outside. Tasmat parang pashyati nandaratman. That is why we are not able to see ourselves. So if I use the word spirit, then this parang pashyati, we are still looking outside. We have to look inside. When you go into a temple, I used to wonder, after all the struggle, pushing and standing in the queue, when we reach the sanctum sanctorum, we are closing our eyes. After taking so much trouble, one glance, we close our eyes and pray. Why? Because the whole concept of temple worship is to make our mind andarmukham. because the self is to be seen inside first. Kaschid dhiraha. There was one courageous person, Pratyagatmanam Ekshat. He beheld the source of that consciousness inside. Avrita Chakshu, because he looked inside. Amritatvam, desirous of immortality. So this Ayurveda tells us that the basis of our existence is this consciousness. Consciousness is in association with the mind and body, creates life, creates the karma purusha, or brings into manifestation the karma purusha. Sattvamatma shariram cha trayameda tridandavad logas tishtadi samyoga. There is a loka, or there is this experience of the world because these three are coming together. Tatra sarvam pradishthidam. So Ayurveda is Sapuman. This Puman, this subject matter of Ayurveda, for whom has Ayurveda been written? For this Puman. Sapuman chedanam tacha adhigaranam matam vedasyasya tadartham hi vedoyam samprakasata. So Ayurveda is written for the karma purusha. That is why we say it is person-centered medicine. For each karma purusha, Ayurveda has to be interpreted and applied in a very specific way. The same thing will not work for everybody. Is that clear? So this is where today we are talking about person-centered medicine. The word person is very similar to the Sanskrit purusha. Purush, person. The word person, I think, is derived from the Sanskrit purusha. Purishete iti purusha. In English, we are saying person. Purishete. So who is that purusha? It's not male or female. Purusha is the consciousness in, abiding, residing in this embodied frame of Sharira and Manas. Deep inside is the Purusha. The same Purusha in everybody. So the goal of Ayurveda is to awaken us in this awareness of the Purusha. And whatever obstacles are there for each individual, the obstacles are different. That has to be removed. And then we get this experience of this Purusha. And then we understand that it is the same Purusha in me that is in you, in everybody around us. So Sarvalogam Atmani, Atmanam cha Sarvaloge, Samamanu Pashyataha, Sattva Buddhi, Samud. Chetanam is the Purusha only. Chetanadhadurapyeka smrta Purusha Samtyaka. That is mentioned in Sharirasthana. Chetanadhadurapyeka smrta Purusha Samtyaka. Purusha Samtyaka is the Chetana Dhatu. Manas is Achetana. Only Purusha is Chetana. So who are we? We are the awareness. Because of us, our world exists. Because we are aware, the world exists for us. So if you look deep inside, that which is aware of everything else, but of which nothing else is aware, that is Purusha. That is the inner light. Na tatra suryo bhati, na chandra tarakam. Puman is the same. Puman is nothing but Purusha. It's a synonym for Purusha. It has been later attributed to the male gender, but here it is not used in the sense of gender. So with that, we conclude our session today. Continue tomorrow. Namaste.
स्थापकाय च धर्मस्य सर्वधर्मस्वरूपिणे अवतारवरिष्ठाय रामकृष्णाय ते नमः रामकृष्णाय ते नमः